Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is the Viking ship icon, and I run the Viking ship here. No, actually, I'm Eric, and I run the Viking Code School. And here today we have a demo from CodeSnapIt, which is Sia, Justin, and Chris, and they're students in our flexible program, which allows you to take the curriculum at your own pace, and with our full support. So they're here to present what they've built, which is CodeSnapIt, and I'll leave it up to you guys to take it from here. So maybe, yeah, I think you have the plan, so carry on.
All right. So my name's Sia Caramelagos. I'm going to do a brief demo of the product for you first, but just as a quick intro, Chris Cavello and Justin Mullis did this for their final project. I just kind of joined in to experience a small team agile process, so I contributed on a smaller level. But this is really their baby. But I'm going to go ahead and do the demo for you. So the original idea came from the fact that on social media right now, there's really no way to share syntax highlighted code without like taking a screenshot and saving it and then uploading it to another place. So thus was born the idea of CodeSnapIt, where you can, it's a completely self-contained social media site for you to share your code, and that it's syntax highlighted as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let me log out first so you can see the login process, I guess. And I can log in. Of course, anyone can sign up. That's a sign up form. But to make this a little bit faster, I'll just go ahead and sign in, see if that's the right password. And as you can see, as soon as I sign in, it jumps me directly to an activity feed. So this is my activity feed. You can see some of my friends have updated their profiles. Justin. You can see some code that I posted already. There's also tags and likes and comments. I can see that Justin posted this code. And let's see. Oh no, PH killer is killer. Did I already comment on that one? And another comment. Yay! And I think that's a great comment, so I'm going to like that. We can also see that there's
in the comments, if you don't mind.
What?
Can you show them putting a hashtag in the comment, if you don't mind?
Yep. I was going to put a hashtag in the actual adding a new snapit, but I can do that as well. Here is an even better comment. It's hashtag awesome. Yay. So you can see that it actually started to guess what hashtag I wanted, which is pretty cool. This is not SQL, but we'll pretend like it is. Oh, PostgresSQL? Fun. Okay. And so now you can see that there's actually hashtags, and they will automatically search for things with that hashtag, which is pretty amazing. So that's the general overview of the activity feed. I can also, I guess we should actually make a snapit. So to make a snapit, I can click on Snappy, the hashtag turtle, and I can make a snapit. So what I can do is I can put some code in there. Let me just grab some code from something else. We will do a start notification from JavaScript. And you can see it automatically syntax highlighted it. If I was doing a different language from JavaScript, I could choose my language there. I can give it a title. Begin Ajax notification. I could change my theme if I didn't really like the Monakai theme. I don't know what's a fun one. Oh, what's the GitHub one? Oh, that does look GitHub-y. We'll do that one. And my description. So it's a hashtag Ajax notification code. And I can play with my zoom level, basically. I could even do a wrap limit, although this one's not very long code. But yeah, I can play with that. Maybe I want only 40 characters. And then I can click Preview CodeSnapIt. And what this does, it actually pings a browser image capture service that was also written by Chris Scavello called Browserazzi, and he'll talk about that in a little bit. But as you can see, it created my SnapIt preview. And I'm like, yep, that looks cool. Let me create it. And now here's my little snappy SnapIt. I can, of course, make comments on it. I can go back over to my feed and see that it's over there. It's so cool. And why don't we start browsing around looking at other users? So I can say, okay, where is Justin? Is there someone named Justin on this website? There's no SnapIts, but there's a user. Woot. I could unfollow him. I'll unfollow him. And let me follow him again. Oh, and I get automatically shown his profile view. So the profile view is slightly different than the newsfeed view. First, I can see just his SnapIts. So I can see all his SnapIts. And I can also click and see who he's following. He's following Chris, and he's following Fubar. And I can also see who all is following him. Like, I'm following him. I can't follow myself, so there's no button, clearly. But yeah, and I can go explore other people as well. I think those are the main. Oh, I didn't show you the profile itself. If I edit the profile, there's some kind of cool functionality there as well, which the guys will talk about in the tech portion. But I can edit my profile. I can actually also edit my profile image. I can use Gravatar by default, which is what I'm using right now, or I could just upload a different image, which I don't actually have a file there, but I could disable my Gravatar and then choose some file, and I'm not going to actually do that and change it that way. But I kind of like using Gravatar. So I think that's the summary. Guys, can you think of anything else I missed, or are there any questions?
Yeah, and so just a note, if anyone's on the line, I think we'll do a couple minutes of questions here, and if you have questions, you can either join us in the main hangout here, like Nadia and Stephen have, or you're welcome to use the chat Q&A app, which is attached to the Google Hangout on Air. So, yeah. Any questions you have, let us know. Fire away.
Oh, and this would be, of course, on just the user experience portion. The tech part, there'll be time for questions on that part as well, where we dive into the code.
I guess one would be just what prompted the need for this app. What's sort of the high-level origin story here?
Chris can probably better talk about that. I did briefly mention that it was inspired by No Way to Share Code, but Chris, did you want to take that question, or you want me to?
Sure, I can explain that. Basically, it first came from the idea that on Twitter, if you really wanted to share some kind of syntax highlighted code, you needed to take a snapshot of it yourself, a screenshot, and I thought that that's fairly inefficient. Wouldn't it be great if there was some kind of service that like just allowed you to do that, like create write code and then have a button that you could click that uploaded it. And then I started thinking, well, why just like settle with like uploading it to like tweeting it basically? Why not have it be its own self-contained thing where like users can interact with it and like it holds features itself. So that's pretty much where that came from. Are there any other questions?
If not, we can roll right into the technical demo, and then there will be time to ask questions about the technical implementation as well.
All right. I guess I can go ahead and start that. I'll start with like the main feature I guess would be the SnapIt creation. And
can you do a screen share?
Yeah. I'm just about to do that. So I put together a, as you can see here, an incredibly simple diagram of how that process works. So I'm gonna like skip around here to some other tabs that I have open. But basically, like what this uses is Angular.js, and it uses a component called Angular UI Ace, which wraps Ace Editor, which is a syntax highlighting code editor that's used on various different websites. It's open source, and I believe it's used on Cloud9. This is actually Cloud9, their documentation website for it. If I go back to the life cycle, so it uses that. That's what that editor is that you're seeing. So when you submit one of those requests, it goes to Rails. And Rails is going to take that, and it's going to save the raw text to the database. And then it's going to shoot out a request to Browserazzi, which is a screenshot API that I made in Node.js, which is JavaScript for basically a server environment. And it uses Express.js, which is a minimal web framework. If you ever work with Sinatra, it's a lot like Sinatra, except built with JavaScript. And the main purpose for using Node and Express is that it easily wraps the most important aspect, which is called Phantom. And Phantom.js is a headless browser that allows you to create snapshots. As you can see right here, it's highlighted as a feature of Phantom.js. So yeah, so that original request is still going, right? And that's an important aspect to realize with this, is that original AJAX request is made, and it's still pending at this point while this request is made to Browserazzi, which then comes back to Rails and takes a screenshot of the SnapIt, the code that was saved. So that code is rendered and syntax highlighted and presented basically for a screenshot. And then that's returned, and it's saved as a temporary SnapIt, which actually is encoded in base64 directly into the database. And then, finally, that is returned. So that during that entire process, this original request actually hasn't resolved yet. And what was interesting about that is it required me to use Puma, which is a Ruby web server that allows concurrency, which is what that whole process requires. While one request is still in progress, another request is made to the same server. The second request resolves, and then the original request resolves. And then that is when you see the preview. And then from there, you're able to accept the preview, and that's when the final SnapIt is created in the database and saved in the cloud. So yeah, let me see how I'm doing on time. Yeah, so that is what's going on when you use the SnapIt editor. And just so you know, if you wanted to, you could also visit Browserazzi. There's a nice little test like thing where you can enter a URL here. So really quick, I'll just show a little bit of the code that does that. I don't want to take much more time on this because Justin has some cool stuff to talk about. So yeah, basically it originates here with the SnapIt's create controller.
You'll have to zoom in a little.
Yeah, let me make this all bigger. Basically, like this controls the editor, and you can see the editor here. This is the component that gets used. There's a nice little modal, bootstrap modal. There's 3 columns, and then once that's submitted, it goes to a SnapIt proxies controller, and this is what creates the temporary SnapIt. And And once that temporary snippet is saved, another request is made to create the image data. And that is actually when the screenshot API is fired off and that data gets saved. It's not until the user clicks create snapit that we actually talk to the snapits controller, which is kind of like the resource controller for the concrete snapits, where we actually create a snapit. And like there's some like tokens that are associated with these snapit proxies that allow like basically the show page for those snapit proxies to be kind of hidden and not really accessible to the general public, because they have to be accessible to the screenshot API, but you wouldn't necessarily like want like that to be publicly available. So those tokens are kind of like a privacy type thing. And then that's all that's created and then returned to the original request. And we have a nice little callback somewhere here to clean up temporary snippets to make sure that like we're not bloating the database with historical temporary snippets. And that's pretty much it. That's the core functionality of snippet creation. So, Justin, do you want to talk about other awesome features of CodeSnapIt?
I would love to, but we might want to pause just for a second to see if anyone has any questions real quick, and then I'll jump in.
Okay. Does anybody have any midstream tech questions?
And again, just as a note, you can use the Q&A app in your Google Hangouts on air if you want to ask any questions there.
I'm surprised that, or I'm not surprised you guys don't have any questions about Chris's the setup for SnapIt. It's pretty simple process. Anyway, I'm Justin. I help with the project as well. I'm going to talk about a couple of concepts that are a little bit more basic, but kind of make the app a little nicer to use. So let me share my screen here. Alrighty. So I'm going to start with the idea of slugs. I don't mean little woodland creatures, but a lot of web apps, if you're kind of starting from basic stuff, if you wanted to go to someone's profile, you might come in here and say, have to go to users 1. And who is that? We don't know who that is. So the concept of slugs lets you type in something nice. Like, for instance, if you know my username is JMU, you can come directly to my page. If I need to share this link, it looks a lot nicer. And slugs and Rails are actually really easy to do. So in here, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm looking at the user model here. And in order to kind of get a slug for a user, really the main method is this little 2 params. And all that allows us to do is when we are linking up stuff to the user profile, instead of using the ID, we look for something called a slug. And so in the profiles controller, it allows us to come in here. If we're going to find a user, we can just do find by slug and feed it a username. So that's the idea with slugs. Basically, we take in when someone creates or updates their profile, we come in here and I'm sorry, their user account. We come in here and kind of turn their username into a slug, which basically takes out anything that you can't have in a URL, like umlauts and other kind of weird characters that you can't have as a link. So that's the idea with slugs. I want to talk about that a little bit because we felt like that was important to kind of have some niceties when you're having a social network, so people aren't having to browse around by ID. We could take the same concept as snapits and other things like that that people might share the links for. The other thing I wanted to talk about is search. Chris has a really cool little module that he created called Searchable. And so what this allows us to do is sort of superpower a model and make searching it really easy. So in the case of users, if I come back up here to the top, I include Searchable, and then I basically tell Searchable what fields can you search for with a user. So in this case, with just the username, that's really the only thing on the search model you can search for. And what searchable does is when I run a user.search, it comes in here and it says, oh, okay, well, we know that the user is going to search by fields based off of that. And it has a method here that basically creates a really nice little SQL query that's going to return any users that have a username that sort of matches our query. And so that makes it real easy to, if we can search users, we can search Snapits, any model that we want to search, we basically just need to insert 2 lines of code. So that's what's great about having modules like that in the program. One other little thing I wanted to talk about was you noticed Sia was looking at the gravitars earlier. So that's part of the profile here. So a profile can upload avatars, and that's with the paperclip gem, and that kind of will take in an attachment image and push it over to AWS. But we can also have a gravatar. And so if a user tells the site it wants to use their gravatar, that sets a flag on their profile. And this method is used whenever the user's avatar is displayed. And it will say, okay, does the user have a gravatar? Or I'm sorry, does the user have gravatar checked? Great. Send them back this gravatar link. And in order to get a gravatar, you actually kind of take a hash of their email address, and that gives back the avatar. If they don't have that flag set, it just returns whatever their uploaded avatar is. If they don't have that, this will just return a default image. So kind of a nice way to give people some options in terms of what avatar they want to use. I like using my gravatar because I don't have to upload images all over the place. All right, so the last thing I was going to talk about is the really cool functionality of being able to add tags. So if I come in here and create a Snapit, you saw Sia earlier coming in here and typing. As soon as she hits the pound, she gets a suggestion. So for instance, Eric has been tagged before, so we can tag him here. I think all your base has been tagged before. So basically what this is doing is hitting the back end and saying, all right, give me all the tags, basically. And then we use a library in the front end called at.js, which is kind of searching through these for us real quickly. So for instance, Monica could do that. Now on the back end, there's actually a lot that kind of goes into the tagging. It's a real iceberg type thing. But just looking at how simple it is on the front end is kind of crazy. So if we look at the tag service, this is running, basically it's running on any field where we want to have tags. And all it's having to do is go out and hit the Rails server and say, hey, give me all the tags. And then if we take a look at comments, this is all we need in order to, if we're adding tags and comments, all we need to do is add in this, which basically tells @JS, okay, start looking for, when you see a pound, start charging up the tags. And so that was a really cool feature that Chris just got added in the past, real recently. But you can see it's kind of neat because you can come in here and the fact that you can actually click on the tags and search for them and stuff like that is pretty awesome. And just a note, I did not create FizzBuzz in COBOL. I found this online. I don't know what sort of masochist would do this, but I thought it was kind of neat, so I posted it. I think that's basically the stuff that I wanted to cover. Just some of the more simple things. Chris was responsible for the complicated, nitty-gritty details of a Snapit creation, so I was kind of working on some other things to kind of charge the site up and make it a little bit more nice and social and whatnot. So I will go ahead and pause now if we have any questions or comments. Oh, also one last thing. Chris created our logo here. That's Snappy, the Snappy turtle. He's very proud of Snappy, and he wanted everyone to know that. So
there's a hashtag in the show
with attribution.
Exactly.
Well done. Thanks a lot, guys. Just to remind everyone who may or may not be viewing, if you use the Q&A app, we'll be able to see your questions. Or if you're here in the Hangout with us, just unmute and fire away. Ask whatever you want. And if not, I'll ask, what was the most challenging aspect of this, of putting this together technically? What were some of those major technical hurdles?
Chris, you want to go first?
That's to say. For me, it was definitely tunneling SnapIt creation through the various different server hits. I mean, it hits, like 2 different servers, multiple. Well, it hits the one server multiple times, and it outsources to different API. And like the biggest hurdle, I think, was like trying, like I got like to a point where I was like, okay, I really like this workflow that I have, and then I hit a wall with using WebBrick server, which is why like I made a point to show Puma and concurrency, because the whole process just tumbles down without concurrency enabled. And what that is like making one request to the same server while there's another request that hasn't resolved yet, basically. So like during the time of the first request, that enables like the call to Browserazzi, which then makes another request, allows that to return, and then the original request return. That was new for me. So
cool. We have a question here in the Q&A app from Nadia. What happens to the slug if you can change your username, assuming you can change it?
So the username the slug will change with the username. And there's actually some options regarding that when you're dealing with slugs. Like if you, for instance, had a blog and you wanted to slugify the titles, so someone could go, /awesome title. There's a couple of gems out there that'll keep a history of those, so you're not breaking links if you change the slug. But yeah, that is one consideration. Ours is a pretty simple implementation, but you could get real complicated with slugs with some of the gems and other methods out there.
Cool.
Actually, that would happen down here with there's a callback for saving, and it slugifies the username. So every time it's saved, it's going to be doing that if they update the username. So
slugification, important process.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Any other questions? That's a good point, though. I mean, if you do end up changing the links in the title tag or in the URL, that you end up with all sorts of broken links, which is something that we get to deal with all the time here, because we link out in our additional resources all sorts of different content, and people tell us the links are broken, and we say, why? If you change your URL structure, why did you not make it so that the old links were still valid and redirecting? But
yeah, I would say that happens all too frequently still on the internet. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. So luckily there are solutions out there to this problem, and hopefully you guys will use that well. All right, so it seems like there aren't any more questions. So congratulations, guys, on Team CodeSnapIt, and yeah, I guess that's the end. This is it for you guys. So I know you're probably going to be keeping this project going a little bit. So roll with it, put it out on the web, set your turtle baby free to fly, or whatever they do when they have hashtags on their shells.
I believe Chris is printing T-shirts of that now. So,
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone who's watching this now or later, and yeah, come check us out at Viking Code School if you want to play with us too. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks everyone for coming to watch us.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.